Embarrassment, Chinese car exports. Chinese cars are gradually winning the hearts of people worldwide. According to the statistics and analysis by the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, after exporting over 2 million vehicles in 2021 and over 3 million vehicles in 2022, China's automobile exports reached 2.14 million vehicles in the first half of this year, a year-on-year increase of 75.7%. While the situation looks promising, Chinese car exports also face numerous challenges, with a very practical issue being insufficient shipping capacity. By the end of 2022, out of the 700-plus specialized car carriers, also known as roll-on/roll-off ships, engaged in global maritime transportation, Japan, Norway, South Korea, and other countries collectively held nearly 70% of the market share, while China accounted for less than 3%. The stark contrast between the massive volume of car exports and the scarcity of owned shipping capacity has raised concerns about transportation bottlenecks. How did these concerns arise? To understand that, we need to recognize the importance of car carriers in the transportation of new energy vehicles overseas. Typically, car exports involve both land and sea transportation. The former includes methods such as road transport and China-Europe freight trains, which are suitable for exporting to countries on the same continent as China but have limited coverage in terms of shipping capacity. The latter includes container shipping and car carrier shipping, which have broader coverage and serve as the primary channels for China's car exports. According to statistics, the proportion of Chinese car exports by sea remains relatively stable, accounting for around 80% of the total. Among them, car carriers are specialized vessels designed for transporting cars. They allow cars to be driven directly into the cargo hold, eliminating the need for manual packaging and securing of cars into containers like on container ships. Therefore, car carrier transportation, which is more convenient, faster, and cost-effective, has become the preferred mode of transportation for automakers venturing into overseas markets. Given the option, car carriers are generally preferred for transportation due to their relatively cheaper prices and better protection for cars. Taking South America as an example, shipping a car from China using a container ship costs approximately $1,700 for a one-way trip, while using a car carrier costs only around $1,300 for the same distance. However, currently, it is difficult to secure car carrier slots. On one hand, the global car carrier market has seen a limited addition of new vessels in recent years, with older ships being phased out. This has resulted in a constrained overall shipping capacity. On the other hand, the explosive growth in China's car exports in recent years has increased the demand for car carrier transportation, leading to a market imbalance between supply and demand. Indeed, the sudden surge in China's car exports has occurred in the past 2 years. Compared to 2020, China's car export volume more than tripled last year. However, the corresponding shipping capacity has not kept pace and has even shown signs of stagnation under the influence of the pandemic. This is the main reason for the current scarcity of car carrier slots and soaring freight rates. The global fleet capacity of car transport ships has hardly grown in the past decade. Since 2017, the growth rate of the car carrier market has been close to zero or even negative. It turned positive in 2021 with a year-on-year growth of 1.2%, followed by a marginal increase of 0.4% in 2022. However, the current capacity is only 4.1 million car slots, which is still insufficient to meet market demand. Furthermore, due to the prolonged period of sluggishness in China's car exports, the development of the corresponding car carrier industry in China has lagged behind. Currently, most of the shipping capacity is controlled by countries such as Japan, South Korea, Europe, and the United States. Car carrier transportation is established in conjunction with the development of the automotive industry in different countries. China has never been a major car exporting country in the past 50 years. In this context, it is unrealistic to expect China to suddenly have a complete fleet of car carriers. However, precisely because of this, the transportation lifeline of China's car exports is in the hands of others. During times of weakness, such as when other countries compete for their own cars in overseas markets, they may refuse to carry Chinese cars or allocate very few slots to Chinese automakers. Note: the translation provided is a general interpretation of the text and may not capture all nuances and details accurately. It is worth pointing out that the so-called bottleneck in car exports is fundamentally different from China's previous bottleneck in high-tech fields. Car carriers belong to the transportation sector. Although this sector is currently controlled by others, China has no shortage of upstream core products and shipbuilding technology. Therefore, building ships and fleets is only a matter of time. On the other hand, it is difficult to overcome the bottleneck in high-tech fields in a short period of time. So, can we consider China's export of new energy vehicles as encountering a bottleneck? We can see that the actual situation is much more complex than imagined. According to observations, China's car export volume has increased from over 2 million 2 years ago to over 3 million last year, and this growth cannot be achieved without the assistance of car carrier fleets from Japan, South Korea, Europe, and the United States. Because in the current market, Chinese automakers do not have other choices. After all, in the past 2 years, 95% of China's complete vehicles exported through roll-on/roll-off transportation rely on foreign-owned shipping companies. The increase from 800,000 to 3 million in China's car exports, at least more than half of it, is provided by roll-on/roll-off fleets from Japan, South Korea, Europe, and the United States. Since the overall shipping capacity of car carriers has not increased significantly, where do the slots occupied by China's car exports come from? In fact, these capacities are not newly added, but rather squeezed out by reducing the share of Japanese and Korean customers. So, it is not an exaggeration to say that this wave of China's vehicle exports is built on the basis of reducing the domestic slots of Japanese and Korean roll-on/roll-off shipping companies. Of course, car carrier fleets from Japan, South Korea, Europe, and the United States are not selfless philanthropists sacrificing their own car brand customers. The biggest motivation for these fleets to allocate more slots to Chinese car brands is economic interests. Car carrier transportation was established with the development of the automotive industry and operates on a mutually beneficial and mutually detrimental relationship. Even though they are fleets from other countries, they still need to make money to survive. When the export volume of their own car brands decreases, it means that the vacancy rate of the fleet slots becomes higher. However, the cost of a sea voyage does not decrease as a result, and the profit that the fleets can earn will correspondingly decrease. The car carrier market is a fragile industry that cannot withstand too much turmoil because the global demand for car transportation largely follows the logic of economic development. Choosing customers for car carrier fleets is like gambling. They need to consider whether the products of a car company can establish a foothold in overseas markets, as the rise of a new brand is often accompanied by the disappearance of an old brand. They also need to consider whether the car company is willing to establish a long-term strategic relationship with the roll-on/roll-off shipping companies to jointly withstand the peaks and valleys of the industry. The fleets refuse a customer today and that customer subsequently has many orders, while the orders from the customers previously chosen by the fleets decrease. The fleets will face the risk of their own interests being damaged. Due to the pressure of long-term shipping demand from domestic car brands, even foreign-owned car carrier fleets will provide more support to their domestic car companies in specific months, but this is an exception. In most cases, they still fulfill their obligations according to long-term contracts. Allocating more slots to Chinese car brand customers is driven by interests. Similarly, fleets prioritize the transportation of their own domestic car brands. Apart from trade protectionism, there are also economic considerations. In fact, not only freight forwarders, but also overseas traders of used cars face the problem of limited slots. This is mainly because the transportation orders from freight forwarders and traders for car transportation are relatively small, usually ranging from a few dozen to a few hundred vehicles. For the car carrier fleets, these orders are just additional cargo that can be accommodated when there is available space. After all, even a small mosquito has some meat. Therefore, the difficulty in booking slots ultimately depends on the size of the orders. When a customer has a large order volume, they also have more bargaining power compared to customers with small orders. After all, the fleets are unlikely to give away the profitable opportunities they have obtained. Transportation is just a small challenge in the process of going to sea. In addition to concerns about the bottleneck of Chinese car exports, there have also been calls for national transportation in the market. The current problem of insufficient shipping capacity for Chinese car exports is not about whether China's shipping capabilities can be improved, but rather about the rapid growth of the market and some aspects not keeping up with the development, without excessively emphasizing the concept of national transportation. It is a good thing to encourage Chinese shipping companies to develop car transportation or find other ways to alleviate the transportation challenges. For example, domestic car companies have started to order ships. In January of last year, SAIC Group ordered 2 roll-on/roll-off ships for long-distance transportation. BYD followed suit and was reported to be planning to invest 5 billion yuan to order 6 to 8 dual-fuel car carrier ships with a capacity of 7,700 vehicles. It is understandable for car companies to order ships, as it helps them control transportation costs and ensures the smooth operation of their supply chains for exporting cars, especially when they have a large order volume. However, it is worth noting that the construction cycle of car carriers is usually around 18 months. From placing the order to delivery, the ships will not be put into use until at least 2024 or even 2025. Before that, Chinese car companies still need to collaborate with international shipping companies or explore other alternative